So we've been talking about governance. So we looked at the history of governance in Canada, and as well as yesterday we talked about good governance. What is good governance? What defines good governance? So today we want to talk about governance from our own perspective as Malawians. To say, okay, in Malawi, when we talk about governance, what is it? Because I had to do a research on Canada, and a little bit I also did research on USA.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like I've been talking about the two countries.
Okay.
Now we need to come back.
Alright.
Home ground things
Yeah.
right now.
Okay.
So now, to you, when we talk about governance, what comes to your mind? Oh, okay, I didn't introduce him. Let him introduce himself.
So my name is Chimwemwe John Paul Manyozo. That's my name.
That's his
Yes.
name. Chimwemwe is a Malawian, a
Yes.
youth,
Yeah.
which is one of the people, yes, he's one of the youth that are making a majority in the population of Malawi.
Yes.
So when you hear about governance, what comes to your mind?
Okay, there are two things that come to my mind when it comes to issues of governance. There is what we call the formal governance system. So you're looking at rulers and then the rules that are put in place. So, for example, if you have a governance system of the president, the cabinet, local governors, members of parliament, what are the rules that are put in place to make sure that these people are functioning, they are delivering on the things that we have elected them to do? And then we have the informal system, which sometimes also known as the rules of the game. So these are usually things that people are expected to deliver. So for example, you elect a president, by the rules on paper, you might not be a president might not be expected to favor people of a certain political party, or people of a certain tribe, or people of a certain...
That's the game rule.
That's the game. So those are now the games. So these are not really written rules, but people just expect a person who is elected to be able to do one or two things. Just take an example of you. If you become the president, okay? One of the things that we expect from you is that you're going to do some form of development in your
In my community.
in your community, right? So you're looking at your relatives to have some certain level of class in the society.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So in as much as you might not be required by law to make sure that you put your relatives in power,
I would still do it.
you still do it because it's social expectation.
Yes, the
to do-
game.
Exactly. So there are all those things that govern what we call a governance system in Malawi. So today I think let's talk about the formal governance system.
Okay, we should talk about the formal governance.
And not the
okay.
informal governance
Okay,
system.
not the informal.
No.
But see, at the end of the day, we still have the informal governance.
Of course.
Okay. Okay. But you have said it's story for another day, so today I'll stick to the
Yes.
formal one.
Yes.
Okay, so when we come to the formal, you've talked about the president, the cabinet, the MPs. We
Yes.
can talk about the councillors, whoever we can put in the chain.
Yes.
Okay, so but then when we go to the basic rules, we cannot go into the constitution what it says
Yep.
and all that, but there's some basic things
Okay.
that are supposed to be there
Okay.
and delivered by these people.
Yeah.
So what is or what are the things
Okay.
that you think would come in that section?
All right. I think when you talk about governance, one of the things that we need to look at is what we constitute as good governance, so that we know what is bad governance.
Oh yeah, sure.
All right. One of the things that we have to look at in Malawi is an issue of participation, for example, right? As one of the tenets of good governance. So, to what extent are people participating in the decision-making process in Malawi? To what extent do people participate in the formation of laws in Malawi? Are members of parliament consulting people from their constituencies to form laws? Or those are just laws that are coming from CSOs and NGOs and the communities don't know about the laws? Youth participation. It's an issue of governance. Youth constitute almost 80% of the population. To what extent are they influencing government policy? Right now, we're in the process of developing Malawi Growth and Development Strategy 3. I've read two reports. I've carried this two actually.
He's going to leave it with me today.
These two reports that look at a consultation process that was taken of young people to feed into this development process, which is not a problem. But the question is, to what extent are the conclusions of these two reports going to find themselves in the Malawi Growth and Development Strategy. How about the other policies that are going to be formed? Participation. So even when it comes to participation, one of the things as well that we need to talk about is there's what is called tokenism or manipulation, and then there is participation. All right. So you're looking at, say, I invite you to a meeting and say, we want young people to participate. We'll give you all the money and everything.
You just come.
You just come into the meeting, but we don't give you space to speak.
What I have in my mind.
So, on paper, you say we consulted young people. Young people got into the space. They were involved in the meeting, but did they speak? So that's how you get deep into the issue of now participation. Secondly, if young people spoke, were people listening, or people were too quick to push them aside? Or there is an interesting one where you put young people on board, and then you say, there are young people in here, give us an energizer. So you're there to give people an energizer. We want someone to open with a prayer. I think we have young people in here.
Yes, please.
Come and offer a word of prayer. Is that participation?
Those are questions. Are those things participation? Or are we just trying to blindfold people?
So that's something that is even covered in these two reports. But when you look at the practice going from here, going forward, we are still in the process of manipulation, the process of participation, Another thing is, when I was going through the two reports, I had a very interesting discussion with my friends who said the two reports are talking about young people, but it seems they were...
But before we continue about the reports,
yes,
who compiled these reports?
that's where we're going.
Okay. We'll wait.
That's where we're going.
I've been like, Shimwe, just mention who did these reports, please.
These two reports were done by the Malawi government with funding from the UN, but they were done by a consultant who is not a young person. So, who developed the agenda of these reports? The areas that the reports are focusing on, I didn't see innovation in it. I didn't see ICT in it. I didn't see innovations hubs that have been developed in these reports. The only thing that I'm seeing are the problems that young people are facing and what the government has to do to solve those problems, which to me, I call it the school of thought where the youth are a problem. That needs to be solved. So once they are solved, then they'll graduate to adulthood. So youth stage is a problem stage where we have to...
It's a crisis.
It's a crisis. So you talk about what are we going to do to sort out drug abuse, what are we going to do to sort out teenage pregnancies, and we can go on and on and on. But it doesn't talk about issues of innovation. What are we doing to make sure that the innovations that young people are bringing on board, we are supporting them
and are able to go out there and make a difference.
So all those fall into the issue of participation.
Participation.
But I think I've talked about participation for a long time.
Okay. So, all these things that you have explained about participation, the examples, the reports, I have grasped something that is more like there was a part whereby we needed to question Kuti, is this an issue of accountability now?
Yes. That's the next thing. Okay. Because when you look at accountability, what are you looking at? You're looking at people being answerable for something, right? So if young people are not being consulted in development processes, who is answerable for these particular issues? So that's where we get into now the governance structure. So first of all, we have even that at the local governance system, ADCs and VDCs. People who are in there are supposed to be answerable for the number of young people that are present in those structures.
Yes.
Local governance, you're talking about councillors, you're talking about, I think the mayor is also part of the local council system. Based on what they're doing, to what extent are they promoting the youth agenda in their work? Let's look at the cabinet, which is my favorite, before we go.
Favorite side.
Yeah, favorite side. Because ever since I can remember, I haven't seen a person who is below 35 years.
Or 35.
35. Who is a cabinet member. Of course, we can debate about Honorable Muluzi.
Yes, we would say, okay, at least we have Dubele Muluzi, but if he's there, what is happening?
But Dubele Muluzi, if he is a member of parliament, then he has, if he is a cabinet member, and then he also contested for the presidential post, then he has to be above 35.
Sure.
Unless if he lied on his age. Because the laws of Malawi say, for you to contest for the office of president, you have to be 35 years old.
And above.
and above, which means he is outside of the bracket of youth. So he doesn't count.
Okay, so according to Chimwemwe's understanding and what the laws of Malawi say, combining them together, we don't have a
young
youth in the cabinet
We
of
don't have-
Malawi.
we don't have.
Yes, although we have been talking about that. Oh, we have a young person
No.
in the cabinet. Okay, so that is how we are talking with Chimwemwe about governance.
Yes.
And today we are taking it back here at home. And this is a youth. I'm not going to say what I was about to say,
say
but okay, I was about to say, Woody, Chimwemwe is one guy who has ideas and thoughts and dreams and arguments about things that most of the times I'll just sit and say, okay, talk to me. But anyways, let's continue this discussion right after this short break. Okay, so right now, continuing, Chimwemwe.
Yes.
Now we've talked about the participation and as well as accountability
Yes.
side of it all.
Yes.
Now, continuing, what more would you say about governance in Malawi?
Yes.
Yes, we know we're talking about, we've talked about the accountability and participation because they are basic things that are supposed to be out there.
Yeah.
So this means to say, we also have basic things that are supposed to be in governance.
Yes.
And as well as that Malawi needs to look
Yes.
into and have. So what would you say?
Okay, first of all, I think on top of the things that we already talked about, for a good governance system to be there has to be the rule of law. So the laws that have been put in place have to be enforced. The law should not be applied to one group and not be applied to
the
another,
other.
another group. If laws are put in place, they have to be enforced.
Enforced.
I don't have to get details by giving examples of how the law sometimes is selectively operating in Malawi. Where you know this person does this crime, they go
Yes,
to jail.
to-
Another person does the same
Same
crime.
crime, oops.
They don't go to jail.
Well, we're still investigating. It's not legit.
No, that kind of stuff. Then there has to be equity and inclusiveness. So we are looking at issues of which groups are marginalized in the society and to what extent are we taking them on board. So we're looking at issues of women, we're looking at children, persons with disabilities, persons living with HIV and AIDS, orphans and vulnerable children. I can go on
On
and
and on.
All of them have to be included in the governance system, and people have to make sure that their needs are met. That's good governance.
Yes, right.
Then we also have to look at an efficient and an effective system. To what extent is our system working? Or is it that we have this system which is not working, but somehow we are holding on?
Holding on to maybe sometime
Maybe
later.
somehow, you know? But we need an effective and an efficient system. So we need results. That's part of good governance as well. And then there has to be also responsiveness and transparency. If there is an issue, does the government respond? Do they respond timely in their response? A very good example is the issue of Area 18, the water crisis
Oh,
and
yes.
sewer
We're
crisis.
still talking about it.
Yes, we're still talking about it. People are not accessing water now in Area 18, or if they're accessing water, they're not really sure.
Yeah,
that
it's water that they really
Yeah.
need to get.
Is it now? Can we say that with this crisis, our government is responsive on this issue? Because time, I mean, it's almost now 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yes, almost 3 weeks even.
And we talk about water is life,
Yes.
which means you need it almost on a daily basis. Can we say now that's an issue of good governance?
We can put question marks out there. Answer for yourself.
Yeah.
On our Facebook page, you can do that.
So I'm looking at all these issues that when you put them all together, that's what good governance is supposed to be about. Now, in a society where there is good governance, there is respect of people's rights. There's respect of, let's just say rights, for example, okay?
Yeah.
I cannot slap you, I cannot rape you, and many other things, because I respect your rights. There is enforcement of the right to development. People get development. People participate in development. The government pushes for development in all the sectors, agriculture, education, health. It works. So when you have a very properly functioning, structured, good governance system, your country should be going in the direction of development.
Not the other way.
Not the other way. If your country is not developing, then there's something wrong with
the system.
with the governance system. And I already talked about the two systems, the formal system.
And the informal
And the
system. That
informal
means to say if
system.
it's not going formal, it's going
It has to
informal.
be the informal system. So there is also an issue of people taking responsibility in a good governance system. Because I'll give the very same example of Area 18. Because one of the things that has been discovered is that the people of Area 18 have been throwing in diapers and many other funny stuff in the sewer system, which has led to the blockage of the sewer system in Area 18
And then bursting.
and bursting. So people from the city council come, they fix it, and then we have those things again in the system, and then it gets a blockage. So you have now rights holders and duty bearers.
Yes,
Everybody's
yes.
doing what they're supposed to do, and then you have a functioning system. So it's not only a matter of saying, okay, fine, the president is supposed to be doing this.
Yes, the government, the ministers.
The ministers.
The,
But I'm also a citizen. I have a responsibility
Responsibility as a
well,
citizen.
As a citizen. So that's in a nutshell what a good governance is supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not basically about our leaders. It's also about us, both of us. But then usually we talk about trust and respect.
Yes.
Okay. So these things that we do between ourselves and the duty bearers,
Yeah.
I would say, it's also something that creates the trust and the respect.
Yes.
So first of all, in this case, we can still give the example of the
Area 18.
water thing,
Yes.
Area 18, to say he's talked about the diapers that people were throwing in the sewer pipes, or I would say in the sewer
Yep.
channels. And as well as we can talk about the pipes that people are thinking that burst long time ago, which was the duty of the duty bearers, I would say. So, which means to say, our actions right here, are they
Yes.
bringing out trust and respect for each other? Okay. Is our actions bringing in respect to each other's responsibility? So it's still something that we can question. But you can just talk about it as in a basic governance issue
Yes.
about trust and respect.
Okay.
Do we have that in our system of government?
I would say for trust, in some aspects, yes, in other aspects, no. And when I look at the governance system in Malawi, people have trust with duty bearers and systems that work. So if you have a duty bearer who is able to deliver, I'll give an example, the Blantyre mayor, for example. People had trust in the city assembly that time. They still have trust now because there are some things that they are seeing moving. So you trust something that is giving you results.
Yeah, sure.
But if you have a system where all you see is people plundering public resources, all you see is people that are supposed to be arrested not being arrested, all you see is that you're talking about, you know what, we have a poor system, so we don't have money, we're not going to increase your salary. But the next thing you see is the president, the cabinet, increasing their salaries, members of parliament increasing their salaries. You don't have trust because you don't trust what they're saying. So they're telling you one thing, and on the other side, they're doing something completely
else.
different.
So you expect us to trust what you are saying, follow what you are saying,
Yes.
but you are not doing what we told you to do when we put you there.
Exactly. So even when we put like in a personal relationship, right? Would you trust someone who is always not delivering on their promises?
No,
The answer is no.
please.
So it's the same thing, the relationship between the citizens and the government. That when you have a functional government which is able to do its job and deliver on things that it says it's going to deliver, people have trust.
Exactly.
Respect. Respect is earned. You don't just get respect anyhow.
Anyhow.
You gain respect when you have, say for example, as an office holder, you have someone who commands respect, okay? Where people still cannot ask, okay, do we have a mayor in Lirongo or we don't?
Yeah, you'd be like,
Do we have a member of parliament for our area or we don't? Do we have a functional ACB, for example? Do we have a functional ombudsman? Do we have a functional human rights commission? And we go on and on and on. That is what gives the respect. People give you respect again when you are functioning.
exactly.
If you're not functioning in the way that you're supposed to be functioning, people don't trust you, people don't respect you. What do? They look for trust and respect in
other places,
in
other
other places
sectors.
and other systems. So this is where now you have the formal and the informal system,
System, they'll
and
be
people
like,
trust
okay.
the informal
The
system.
informal system.
Tax system, for example. If you have a tax system where when people collect the tax, you don't even know where the tax goes to.
Exactly.
What makes
no
you?
trust.
Yeah, you don't trust the people that are collecting tax. You find another way of paying tax.
Very true.
Very true.
And then that's where we talk about corruption then.
Corruption
Exactly.
starts when you don't trust the system.
Yes.
You tell me that, okay, this is a passport office. If I go into this passport office, I'm going to get my passport in a day when I pay this amount of money. I pay that amount of money, I'm getting the whole week to get my passport. What should stop me from using the back
The
door
back door
to get
to get
my
your
passport?
passport. Exactly. It's
So
very
all
true.
these are questions that people need to answer. If we don't answer these questions and look at the challenges in the way that I've talked about and just keep on talking about, oh no, we are doing these reforms, all these reforms aren't working. When as a citizen, I'm not feeling the
Feeling
reforms working. Forget
Noise.
about it.
Noise. Anyways, so that is how I have talked with Chimwemwe. But Chimwemwe, before I chase you right here, because this is about to
Okay.
get to there. Okay, is there anything that you really want to urge your fellow youth
Yeah.
about things that are happening in the country?
I think the first thing that I'm going to tell young people, I think I should look at them right now, is first of all, read. Okay? One thing that I've discovered is the government or the jury bearers, they are very good at drafting documents, and they know that young people rarely read these documents. So we are on the one side complaining about not being included when we don't take time to read this document to know exactly what the document talks about. So all development-related documents, make sure you read them. That way, when you are actually approaching the jury bearers, you know that this is what is stated in the document, and we want to have this and this and this. Just whining outside of this system without reading, that's how they're killing us.
Oh, yeah.
So we have
exactly.
to read.
We have to read. So that is what Chimwemwe is going to urge you to do. So thank you very much for joining me. And well, I believe that we have grasped something about governance according to Chimwemwe's understanding, that is. Because some of you would say, well, I read this other book. Well, I understand this. I heard this person speaking in public about this. But this is a youth who has an idea of what is happening, and he has given out his idea. What do you think? What do you understand? What do you know about our system of governance, and what would you say about it? So let's continue the show right after this break.